This Rabies build is completely immortal and can clear tier 100 Nightmare Dungeon with ease with just Rabies at an insane speed. If you are a demon, get your mask, get your vaccine, because COVID is coming. I was cooking a build for Gauntlet, the upcoming leaderboard content for Diablo 4, equivalent to a tier 70 Nightmare Dungeon, so much weaker than tier 100. I did not expect Rabies to be powerful enough for tier 100, but I was wrong. Let's talk about the build and where I am going with it. For this build, this is the table of content, the most important sections being the how to play and the FAQ/theory crafting section, because this build is unfinished, so I want to explain my thought process behind some stuff and answer common questions all at once. Disclaimer, because this build is gonna be completely different, there is so many mechanics to test, so many directions to go with. It's something no one has experience with theory crafting. Let's get into it and talk a little bit about it, but it's gonna be a build that will take me a long time to perfect and figure out. We are having 7 uniques and 3 UBERS, which are completely unnecessary, but it's very fun. Right now I'm having fun. We are playing Avaharion, we are playing Harlequin Crest and Melted Heart of Selig. The only non-unique item is the boots, which have the virulent aspect on it. Do you need all of those ones? No. The only required unique is the X-Fall Corroded Signet. This is really strong. The other ones aren't necessarily needed, but they do cool stuff. Let's go over them. We have Shaco, which is a stat stick. As resource generation, which is very strong in combination with Melted Heart of Selig. Melted Heart of Selig pretty much makes us immortal and also has damage while healthy, which is a great multiplier of damage, because Envenom is not as powerful for this build, because it only works on crits. So making Melted Heart of Selig actually may be best in slot for the build, but maybe not, because you lose a damage aspect and maybe you just want to go more damage, honestly. We have Mad Wolf Glee, which is, in my opinion, a great item. Has damage, which works for every type of damage. Maybe we're gonna pair this up with Lacerate, we'll see. But has ranks to werewolf skills. Rabies being a werewolf skill gives us damage, move speed, the damage reduction from poisoned enemies. The item is frankly made for a Rabies build. We have Fist of Fate, which has been increasing my damage consistently, which is very weird. I do not understand why it's giving me damage and I never get like the 1%. Why is Rabies always doing more damage than it should, but never doing less damage than the base one? Very confused about this item. I will have to test and understand what's going on. We have Thibault's Will, which is very good in combination with Hunter's Zenith. So we have a little bit of some combo going on here. Hunter's Zenith, I kill stuff with Rabies. I shapeshift into Trample. Trample gives me resources. The resources I get also activate Thibault's Will, gives me more resources. Works with Melted Heart, you get resources back, you are immortal. Very good combo. Also the Quick Shift passive works with Rabies to my testing. I was told it was bugged and not working with Rabies, but I tested it and it seems that it's working. It will require more testing to understand if the damage multiplier is correct or not, or maybe it's additive, or see what's going on. From my test, damage has been increasing with this ring. Really like the combination of that. Also, I like to stand still at the end of vaults and just spam Rabies and Debilitating Roar without moving instead of Trample. Meanwhile, I'm playing in Dungeon, I'll talk about later, but I like Trample for Dungeon, and then if I have to stand still, I like Debilitating Roar spam. We have the Avaharion Spear of Lycander, which gives us move speed, because clearing Elite gives you a Shrine effect, which has 35% move speed. I like that. The 52% damage works very well with all types of damage, which will be relevant very soon, and I will tell you why. We have, of course, Virulent, which I would like to have on Amulet, honestly. Very good. The boots have a bunch of random stats. They should probably have armor, because I'm not armor capped in tier 100 right now. I am capped if I use my pants with Disobedience, and that's what I've been using, so the damage can be a lot higher when you start using Thibault's Will. I think optimally, you know, being able to get the resources with the Melted Heart, Default, and being armor capped will work wonders. My resistances are pretty high. Cold and Shadow not capped is fine. I do believe that this is probably a meme. Probably just running this one as I was doing before is better, which is elements, and you go close, slow the damage, willpower, all stats, and yeah, I think this is probably better for clearing mobs, but we are going full UBERS because it's cool. We also maybe will want to add Ring of the Starless Skies to the build with Shred for moving even quicker, but has been very challenging to keep up the 3-second buff with Shred. But Shred might be part of the build later on, because I would like to have also a strong single target for the bosses, which also could be taken care of by the Ascension Pet. I do not know where I'm gonna go with that. Right now I have resource generation for my Melted Heart, Safeguard, and Swift. Because of course resources is great with the Melted Heart. So Melted Heart being really, really cool to play, but not needed. I will have a version of the build without the UBERS and without the Unix, and only with the X-Fall ring, so you guys can play that without UBERS. And I will have like the full Uber for fun build. I'm also gonna test Arida, and maybe have... if you play with Arida, I'm gonna have to change my boots, and my amulet will need to be a rare one for having Virulent. I think Godslayer potentially is just honestly better than Shaco. The 60% damage is better than the ranks, obviously. Also get flat damage. And see, a lot of like this damage works for any type of thing. Works for the pet. So the 32% damage on the Medwolf Glade, it's flat type of damage. The Avaharion damage is also flat type of damage. It's not poison damage, which means it would work for the pet, or it would possibly work for an ability to kill bosses in single target. I do not know how I can go with Lacerate, but maybe Lacerate could be a good choice for killing bosses. Alternative would be maybe a very strong and big Poison Creeper, and then Changeling Depth Aspect, which removes all the poison and deals massive amount of damage. There are a lot of things I can try for single target. Right now, Great Vault running build, I'm gonna figure out the single target as I go. We are in a very uncharted territory with the build. It can go in many directions. It could have maybe Grizzly Rage, Shred, we'll see. I just know that Rabies is really powerful. I think Rabies is really powerful for clearing everything. I think Hunter's Zenith combo with Trample is amazing. I think that might be always gonna be part of the build. Maybe we're gonna add a different type of dots, because X-Fall will proc for different type of dots. So maybe Poison Creeper, maybe Claw with Toxic Claws, Toxic Claw adding a different type of dot. So a lot of options, a lot of testing to do. Very interesting build. Let's go over the full build right now. Then in the description I will link the build with without UBERS, and you guys can try that out if you like. And you can also have, of course, the build with UBERS. Playing this build is incredibly easy. Oh, I'm almost dying. Rabies, first thing you do, Trample if you want to move. Rabies always in between as you're activating the buffs of Hunter's Zenith. If you're sitting between mobs like this, the ability to roar is a great choice. If you run out of Unstoppable because you misclicked, you have Earthen Bulwark, which is always a great choice. But overall, the build plays by itself. You do Rabies. If you want to move Trample, you get Rabies back up. Rabies again. Oh, there is a lot of elites. Oh my god, you press Debilitating Roar. Bloodhowl can help you heal and keep up also your resources. We have resources on it because attack speed not really relevant. So pretty much just in this room is just Rabies. And then more Rabies, Debilitating Roar occasionally. Well, actually you should do it in between every Rabies. But yeah, that's how you do this. We're gonna clear it very easily without doing anything pretty much. And even if you don't have the poison all the way through the mob, the X-Fall ring will explode and kill them. As you can see, For some reason they die even when the poison isn't fully covering their HP bar. I'm not sure why, but works very well. T100 cleared. Easy peasy. Tips and tricks. There isn't a lot of them, I would say. Run a pants with either Disobedience or Juggernaut if you're doing T100. For tier 70 content and open world content, run T-Bolt's Will, because T-Bolt's will give you more damage and more resources, which you don't really need, but the damage is nice. Of course, be sure to shapeshift between using rabies as you activate Quick Shift, which I've been told it does not work. According to my testing, it does work, but further testing will be required. But anyway, we are activating a lot of those shifting effects, so be sure to keep shifting between shapes. Another small tip would be use Trample while you have to move around, so use this as your go between rabies button, and if you're standing still between mobs, use Debilitating Roar as what you're using in between rabies shots. Other than that, really easy to play build and really not complicated at all, so not really that many tips. Gear and stat requirement. We did talk a little bit about it earlier, but the only real thing you need for this build is to have an X-Fall and to have a Virulent Aspect, which you can put on your amulet if you do not have Zillig. But let's go over the items quickly. Shaco, I like it. My non-unique version will not have Shaco, obviously. Meadow of Glee, I would have it if you have one, but I will also have the option for the non-unique version. The Fist of Fate will stay in the build for now, but it's also a nice slot to put another offensive aspect. I run Disobedience for tier 100 number dungeons, and I run T-Bolts if I'm not doing T100, but possibly I'm gonna be able to armor cap without running Disobedience, and I will be able to run T-Bolts in T100, we'll see about that. My boots are only here to have rabies and move speed on them, nothing else is really needed. Armor while Werewolf, really good roll to have though on those ones. And I like attacks reduce evade cooldown, possibly in the future I will play with Flicker Step though. I like my elements on my two-handed weapon, I think that's the best multiplier you can have. Alternative, if you want to be a little bit more consistent, I believe Edge Master is better. 40% damage. We'll have to test that one out and see which one takes the cap. But all stats, willpower, close and slowed are all things that activate on poison and on your rabies, that's why we're using them. The Melted Heart of Zillig has been really powerful, and the first build for Druid that has used this item in any way that is efficient might be best in slot, honestly. You might be able to just go full damage and just have Zillig as your defensive item. Very good. But if we end up needing crit damage and crit chance and Venom for single target, this is probably gonna be swapped out. And also it will not be part, of course, of the non-unique version of the build. Onto Zenith, Quick Shift, really good, crit chance. Damage roll shapeshifter is pretty high. Overall, a very good item. Also, more damage reduction and gives you resets to Debilitating Roar and Trample. I would say this is the second most needed item for the build. So if there is two uniques you want to have is X-Fall and Hunter Zenith. X-Fall has cooldown reduction, damage over time, and of course has the effect of doing an explosion. Meaning this is a really strong item for the build and pretty much a must-have in my opinion. But necessarily not needed, actually, I would say. You can play it without X-Wall and just with Zenith. I think it would be hard to play without both, but with just one of them I think you can play the build just fine. Alternative, if you do not have Shaco, Godslayer, really good. And if you like to play with Abaharion Spear of Lycander, you also can take out your elements and play with Lycander. Fun, but probably less damage right now, at least. Till we can figure out a way to use attack speed and crit chance for the build. But the build has a lot of cooking to do, which we'll keep doing. And see how far we can get this bad boy. For the seasonal mechanic, we have Tempest, Resource, if you're playing with Zillig, Safeguard, Swift support for more attack speed to get more resources, and we do Flash of Adrenaline, of course, with the combo to get it full uptime, 50% damage increase. I would say probably instead of running a Swift, I would be running Evernight if I had it, but very little damage gain on Rabies. The more ranks you have, the more weak extra ranks become in terms of how much damage you gain from that. I also will experiment with the pet being a damage pet and see if it can maybe provide single target damage. That would be cool in my opinion. For the talents, let's take a look at what we have. We don't really use basic skill as we do not need any resource for this build outside of Selig. We run full ranks in Shred. I was testing it, oh my god, this is embarrassing. Anyway, you rank full ranks in Iron 4, in Digit Great Gate. Those one for now are really not needed as we don't really do crits. You can take them out. We run full ranks in Bulwark instead because why not? But again, it's really not something we use. Maybe actually, you know what? Yeah, I'm doing this live. We do this, full ranks here, it's more damage reduction, EGG. And full ranks, Ancestral Fortitude, Vigilance, you know the trick, just more damage reduction. Debilitating Roar does not need full points, but if you put more points in it, the cooldown reduces, but we don't really need that. We go with Mana on the Blood Howl, and we go with Healing on Roar. I do not like the slow because I think the mobs don't chase you enough and they don't spread rabies very well. Nature's Reach, it's multiplicative distant damage if they are slowed, and they are always slowed with poison. I run Trample with Spirit because of Melted Heart. Different talents for the non-unique build. Rabies is max ranks, and we go Natural Rabies. And Venom is taken, but doesn't do anything for us right now. Toxic Claws 1 rank, Neurotoxin 1 rank. So I was experimenting with Shred, as you could tell. We have Quick Shift, full ranks, full rank Senses, full ranks Natural Fortitude. And I'm running Ursian Strength, it's more health and more damage. Best and Rampage might be better if we end up using Shred or another ability for damage, but this is the setup for now. There is really nothing else you can do. At this moment, maybe you can do this, take this one out. You can put the points here if you want, but a lot of points unspent, but this will get taken care of when we start working on the single target of the build. Maybe it's gonna be some pulverized shenanigans. We'll see where we go with that. Paragon board. Interesting Paragon board. We run Keeper on the first board because we are very interested in having a lot of intelligence sockets. So here it's an intelligence socket used for Keeper, and this allows us to have other intelligence sockets used for glyphs like Bane, which is very high on the requirement for intelligence, 44 int in Ancestral Guidance. We do not take Ancestral Guidance, but I will try versions that take it with spenders as well. Tracker, full points, 49, 97% damage to poison enemies, big banger in Constricting Tendrils. We take here in Inner Beast a bit of unconventional Fang and Claw, but the shape-shifting skill damage works very well with our Rabies. You get armor, we get more HP here. This build is really tanky with almost 30k HP. I take Heightened Malice, and in Heightened Malice, of course, I have a Werewolf, which is kind of weird, but it's a great build, a great socket to have willpower. I'm just trying to get as much damage possible right now. So 85% damage while in Werewolf form. Good. Here we have Intelligence taken. As you can see, I'm not taking Feral because usually Werewolf goes here, but in this case, Guzzler. Again, max int, 49 points, big damage multiplier, and Lust for Carnage, I have it because it's resource generation, but honestly, this was more to play with Shred. Right now, I think I'm gonna take this one off if you want, and you can put more point into damage. But there's really not that much to take. I just have to figure out how to use those extra points for single target damage, and I will see where I go with that in the next build update. For now, this is going to be my Paragon board. You can use it very good for T100 and any type of content like that. For the Boons, it is kind of weird. So we are using damage reduction from elites, I'm using max life, and I'm using attack speed, because crit chance and crit damage are not used in the build right now. Then I'm taking dealing damage, restores spirit. You can also take, if you want, the bolster, but Fortify seems to be quite consistent. It might be that in the future we're gonna run an ultimate for damage on single target, so this could be an option. And I'm doing Masochist. We don't have anything else to run right now that is interesting to the build. At this point in time, I do not know what aspect I will have in the build. For Snapshots, Moonlight, off elements is snapshotable, but being on a two-handed weapon, no point in snapshotting it. I will test the snapshots later on when I decided how I will tackle the single target and see what can be snapshotted for you sweaty, dirty nerds that snapshot. But for now, I don't really have any good tips about them. As my final thoughts on the build, I can tell you that it's a good build. It's gonna be a good gauntlet build. It's a very fun build. And if I can fix the single target damage, find anything about it, it's gonna be absolutely bussin'. As long as I can fix the single target, oh my god, might be the best build of the season for Druid and maybe even other classes. Yes, Barbarians can do more damage, but in Gauntlet, their damage means nothing. It's all about speed. And if I can just trample rabies and kill stuff like that, oh my god, that's an insane build. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have any thoughts on what can be used for single target, and I will see you guys on the next video. Keep cooking.
Where's the lamb sauce?